Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal.
Welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. This has been the summer of women taking over endurance sports, and Catherine Breed is ready to add her name to the list. This woman is trying to do something that no person has ever done before, and that is swim the entire length of the California coast. It is about 900 miles, and it is going to take her 3 or 4 months of swimming 8 to 10 miles every single day in order to achieve this dream. In this episode, we talk about the why. We talk about the moment that women are having in endurance sports, and we talk about what it means to show up scared and why that lesson is not only so incredibly important, but so incredibly universal. Cannot wait for you to hear this episode. And so I welcome in Catherine Breed, who is trying to do something that nobody, no man, no woman has ever done before. Catherine, welcome to the Powerful Podcast. You're writing some history, girl.
Thank you so much for having me, AJ. Yeah, it feels pretty special to be doing something that's never been done before.
Okay, so let's talk about this dream that came out of your brain and is now going to hopefully be written into the history books. So you are swimming the entire length of the California coast, which is going to take you 3 to 4 months. We're catching up with you while you're sort of at a really critical part in NorCal, where you're almost to San Francisco, so there's got to be some milestones. But I guess let's start with, where did this idea come from?
I don't know the exact moment it popped into my brain, but I grew up in the ocean. So my whole life has been sailing, as a child, and then swimming, and then surfing and swimming, and getting into ultramarathon open water swimming about 10 years ago. And so I think the idea started to formulate when I read about 2 brothers that had prone paddled the coast, and a swimmer had just swam around Great Britain, I think in 2018. So I was like, oh, these long ocean expeditions are possible. And I started wondering myself, could I do this? And it was in 2022 when I was the first person to swim from the Golden Gate Bridge to Half Moon Bay, 30 miles along that stretch of coast with just my best friends on the boat and a beautiful day at sea, where I thought to myself, I want to try to do this. And I really do believe that my love for the coast, my experience on the coast, and my swimming physique and the community I have here set me up for it. So after that swim, a friend asked me, what's next? And that was kind of the first moment I voiced out loud, I want to swim the coast. And she said, amazing. I want to be on your team. Let's make it happen. And that was 3.5 years ago.
So often, right? Like, we're both kind of around the same age, women in their 20s, their 30s. The question is like, oh, when are you getting engaged? And then once you're engaged, it's when are you getting married? When are you having kids? And it's like so cool that your community was like, no, when is your next swim? What is your next big adventure? And that they immediately were like, done, I'm all in.
Absolutely. I mean, every single person, every friend of mine has their fingerprints on this project. There are hundreds of people that have their fingerprints on this project, and some people that have been helping me every week for 3 years, which is so crazy because it's not a paid position to volunteer with planning this. And the support was just overwhelming, and all my friends, I think what really took me by surprise was not one person was like, are you sure this is possible? Not one person. Every single person was like, yeah, of course, if anyone's going to do it, it's you. And I was just thought how special that was, that my community believed in it, and then weren't just like, yeah, go ahead and go for it. They were like, how can we help make this happen?
That is such an under talked about thing, because I think this summer in particular, it seems like women are really proving their endurance sports abilities, because we have Kelsey Fendler, who went across the Mid-Pacific solo in 45 days. We had Rachel Entrekin, who won the Cocodona 250. We have still all these mountain bike races that are coming up around the states that are showcasing just how capable women are in endurance sports. And now you're joining that list of women. And so even though you guys are all doing these different things, what do you think about the fact that it seems like your community is a smaller example of a much larger picture happening right now?
Watching Kelsey row Pacific, and I was dialed on Cocodona 250. I was like, oh my God, watch Rachel and Trek. And Courtney Dauwalter is one of my like heroes. And I have followed these women for a really long time, and just noticing on social media people putting me in the same like sentences as them, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is insane. This is so cool. And I do think what women and female athletes do a really good job of is acknowledging the good and the bad, but also acknowledging the team that it takes, and acknowledging like this isn't a solo thing. I mean, Kelsey's row, she was by herself in the ocean, you know, but when you look at like Rachel and Trekken or what I'm doing, you have to have a team with you. The aid stations are with me on the boat, and you know, with Kelsey, I know that there is a team involved in the beginning and the end and helping in the middle, and so it's really special. I think it's showcasing how powerful women are, but I think more importantly, what it's showcasing is how powerful you can be when you have an amazing team behind you. You cannot do hard things alone, and women build these awesome communities, and that's why we're able to exceed, especially in these sports and activities that require so much effort from others.
Yeah, that is such a good call out, because even like a friend of mine was one of your, I don't really know what the technical term for this is, but he was like your person behind you on
Jake?
On like the paddle.
Oh yeah.
He was the one who, and he wrote this really beautiful thing. But he was the one behind you who, like, I guess is your, are we calling it a shark guard? Like, what are we calling that? But like, you have an incredible team of people, not just like with you on the boat, but like with you in the water, while obviously not touching you because records. But like, what do you think it is about like wanting to do something incredibly difficult that also has all these people being like, yes, I want to support you?
You know, so Jake, I know Jake from surfing in San Francisco, and he now lives up in Humboldt, and I messaged him like, hey, I want to come up to Humboldt and do a training swim for two reasons. One, I want to feel the water up there before I start on Swim California, and two, I want to meet the community, because if we do need help, I don't want to be like, hey, I'm a stranger passing through your community for the first time. And so I made this concerted effort to go up to Humboldt, do a training weekend, and I asked Jake if he would prone paddle for me. And so that's where that story came from. And he rallied together, I think there were like 8 people that were all surfers, and they all showed up on prone paddles or kayaks to escort me. And what I realized is they weren't there just for me. Like, yes, they were there because like this was my idea to do this like point to point swim, but they were also getting to experience their backyard in a different way. And Jake made a comment. One of them has been attacked by a shark, and that what I'm doing and how calm I was in the ocean was like really healing for them. And so I think that there is this thing of, yes, I'm doing this like gritty, strong, tough thing, but there's also this beauty in having to work with nature, and and that's like what Swim California is about. It's like bringing people along with a journey. I mean, not physically right now, but like through social media. It's like, come look at how amazing our coastline is. Like, we saw 50 whales today, you know. And so there's a little bit of people I think are engaged and interested in helping because they want to support people doing big things, but also their own journey sometimes aligns with what these athletes are doing.
We are seeing your journey right here, right now, but like your credentials in the outdoor swim, not outdoor, like outside the pool, swimming, open ocean, right? Swimming is extreme. Like you said, you were the first person to swim from the Golden Gate Bridge to Half Moon Bay. You also were, hold on, let me just get the credentials really quickly because they're extensive. You swam the length of Lake Tahoe. You swim around Monterey Bay. You have all of these like fastest female records behind you. And now we're picking up the journey where you're trying to do something that nobody has ever done before. How do you feel though, like this is just the next step in the process? It's not like, you know, when I'm sure if you told, you know, Catherine 10 years ago, hey, like, we're going to try and swim the entire length of the California coast, like, what would her reaction be?
Well, Catherine 10 years ago was just getting gently peer pressured into ultramarathon swimming to do the English Channel, and she thought 21 miles was crazy. So I think she probably would look at this and say, that's impossible.
How did you get here? How did you get from 10 years ago, Catherine, to this Catherine?
Outside of swimming, like with marathon swimming, I have 9 records in the space, and they're not just female records. Some of them are like overall records. And so there is a skill that I have. And there's, outside of swimming, I also am, I volunteer on ski patrol, and I ski mountaineer, and I've done Ironmans. And so this endurance athletic space is very familiar to me. This traversing through nature and working with the wild is familiar to me. And I think really it was just seeing other people do big things and open the doors. And whether it was like incredible female endurance athletes or men doing these things, I'm like, wait, if a guy can do that and women are also doing these things, like, can Swim California happen? And so it was a culmination of so many things, like physically proving to myself I could, realizing how much I love this coastline, and also just, seeing similar things being done.
It's like something's been on the back burner for years, right? And it's like so cool because I think that what we're seeing, like I said, is like this culmination of this thing that's been on the back burner for 10 years. And now you're like, this is the time to put it in the front and like go after it and chase the big hard thing. Even with all of your preparation, you've now been on the water for about a month. What has surprised you the most about this excursion?
What surprised me the most is how well it's gone. And
You're like, wait, hold on.
Yeah. I think I'm really, really, really proud of the team. Like, even today, I was just like, damn, we hired the right people to be on this crew. And we have 2 women on the crew that are both yacht masters out of the UK. And one of them, Maisie, she actually was a first mate on Ross Edgley's swim around Iceland last summer. So she's done this before. She's one of the only people in the world who have done a similar expedition, and she's here leading this. And so, I'm really proud of that. And yeah, what I'm most surprised about is how much progress we've been making safely in the decision making. Like, it's going really well, and we're having so much fun. Like, truly, we are like having so much girl time and girl talk, and it's really been a blast.
That's awesome. I want to talk about how you're using this as not just a swim, right? But you're also using this as a way to engage other people, because I'm a Southern California girl at heart. I love the coastline. I've been up to the NorCal coastline, and I think that, I probably have driven most of the California coast at this point in my life. But you're experiencing it in a way that you really want to share the beauty, the joy, the excitement of our California coast. What is the, tell me about all the extracurriculars, because in case swimming like 8 to 10 miles a day every day for 3 to 4 months is not enough, what else, what are the extracurriculars that you've added in here?
Yeah, so what I've added into this are community pop-ups. So imagine doing the PCT in 3 months, which was a very fast time to do it, and then stopping at 13 locations to engage with 200 people in the community and sign autographs. That is what I'm doing. I bit off a lot. But for myself, I think one thing I've noticed with women's sports that women's sports specifically does really well is the storytelling. And it's the storytelling of all of the characters, the athlete included. And so I'm using the swim to storytell of the people on this coastline, the places we're seeing, and some of the problems the ocean's experiencing. And the way we're doing that is we've partnered with ocean conservation groups that are like localized to the towns we're passing through, and we're giving them the mic for 15 to 30 minutes to talk about what they're doing and inviting the community to learn. And the reason I chose to do it this way is, if I brought a San Diego ocean conservation group like Wild Coast up to Humboldt, the connection's not there. And so it's like, how do we make ocean conservation not this ambiguous thing? How do we make it tangible and emotionally connected to your community? And so we've had amazing turnout. We just had our 3rd one in Bodega Bay a few days ago, and we had 200 people. We partnered with the Greater Farallones Association and Mission Blue. Mission Blue is Dr. Sylvia Earle's nonprofit, and so it was just really cool because we were talking about the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary, which is literally right outside Bodega Bay. And Yeah, so I'm learning a ton about the coast, and our media production company, LA Sports, they're showcasing these stories in kind of like an episodic way. So it's something the conservation groups can use for a long time coming, and people can learn about the happenings.
You're doing a great job, I feel like, of like bringing us along in the process. And I want to ask about the logistics, because I've said it a few times where it's like, okay, you're swimming a few miles, like 8 to 10 miles a day is what it sounds like. You're doing this over 3 to 4 months. How does this work? Like, how are you stringing all of these days together is the first question.
The logistics behind this is they're so hard. I think it was hard before. Now that we're in it and we're in a routine, it's calmed down a little bit. But how we do it is we look at where there's a harbor, either a harbor or an anchorage. So like right now we're in an anchorage. So like there's no resources around us. We're just out here. So we're like camping at sea versus a harbor. And so we look at the distances between those and say it's 50 miles. And so we'll travel 10 miles, go back. We'll travel to the 10, go another 20, go all the way back. And then the third day, swim, go to the south one, and then go back up and work our way that way. And that's what we do every day. And so we're starting and stopping on the same GPS coordinates just to ensure we really do travel the whole thing. And we're working with World Open Water Swimming Association to ratify it. The daily operations are we start the swim usually in the morning. We'll have 2 people on our tender, which we've named Ribbit. And then the main vessel, Catalyst, will have 1 to 2 people. And Catalyst, the sailboat, will keep us in a straight line. And we swim 8 to 10 miles. I swim 8 to 10 miles a day. We did have to reverse direction, which was a really interesting problem we encountered. So I was intending to go just north to south the whole way. But as we've encountered some of this like El Nino factor and the hurricanes down south, there's so much energy being pushed north that I am one of the fastest swimmers in the world and I can't swim through it. And so we did make a decision that like we might do a segment 10 miles north to south, and then the next day, maybe the next segment, we have to go connect it, but swim south to north. And so in my mind, it's a little bit of like, how do we make this possible? No one's ever done this. The models are few and far between up here, so we don't have data we can look at that can tell us exactly what's happening. Like I'm the data. And it's also safety. You know, if we are 50, or in some of these stretches are 100 miles, if we're 100 miles and I'm going twice as slow, that's twice as many days that we're out at sea, and we can't be without resources. We don't have like enough water, food, all of that. And it's exhausting. And the more time we're floating out at sea instead of anchored, the more risk there is. So it's kind of the way I've kind of justified it in my head is, one, it's the only way to do this. I'd love to see someone try north to south. Like that would be amazing. But it's kind of a like switchbacks. You know, when you hike, you don't go up a mountain in a straight line. Sometimes you have to switch back. Sometimes you have to down climb, and that's what we're doing here.
Wow, that is such a that's such a unique thing to like have to encounter. Is like when you're the first, it's like no one could have told you that like, oh yeah, actually the current's gonna be so strong that you're not gonna be able to swim through it. But the problem solving element is really, really cool to hear more about. Tell me a little bit about, like, you mentioned using open ocean swimming as like a way to ratify it. So tell me a little bit about like the ratification process and like how this gets validated. Because again, for so many people, Kelsey was like the first time that they heard about open ocean rowing, right? And they're like, no, you know, you can't deliver anything to her because that would mess up the record. So tell us a little bit about how that works with like this record that you are creating as we speak.
Totally. So open water swimming is a very, very strict activity. Typically, so all the channel swims I've done prior to this one, I follow English Channel rules, which is 1 bathing suit, 1 cap, goggles, earplugs. You cannot use a Garmin or GPS watch. You can only use like a Casio or, you know, something that doesn't have any GPS capability. And that's all you can use. So every swim I've done prior to this, that's the rules I followed. You cannot touch the boat. You cannot get out, and you cannot get any assistance. You can't have someone get in the water and swim ahead of you. They have to be behind you. And so we're essentially following like those rules, but my swim is considered assisted stage. And so the assisted part is I'm wearing basically wetsuit and booties to keep myself warm because the water up here is really cold, and I am wearing a Garmin because this is one of the ways I'm like tracking our distance. And then the stage part is that we are linking various segments together. And so what we do is every day, Maisie or Heather take a photo of me getting into the water, log it with the GPS coordinate on our like Marine Navionics app, and then I swim, and during my swim I can't touch the boat or get any assistance from anyone. They toss me a bottle, and then every 30 minutes we're logging a coordinate, taking a picture, taking a 1-minute video every hour, and all of that gets compiled into a massive Google Drive and sent to this ratification group. So it is very, very, very tedious, but it makes me feel good because it's really honest.
Yeah, geez, I hope the person running that is type A. I hope they are like, I've got this is me, I love this.
There's a
Because
group,
the check marks-
yeah.
You're like, actually, this is the whole team. I know obviously you're doing this because it's the next step and you're excited to be the person to do it, but I also know that you're doing this because you want there to be a bigger impact than just having your name next to your 10th record or 12th, whatever you said, which is impressive. What do you want people to know or to be inspired by watching you do this?
The ocean for me has been so healing and transformative from like just having a pretty rough childhood and then finding my love for the ocean again after college. And so I think I want people to recognize, one, the conservation piece of like, we do need to protect the ocean. Like ocean, when we say the word ocean, it's not just water, it's everything in it that gives us healthy air to breathe. Like that's important. But in addition, just for, I think for anyone, men or women, girls or boys, to see the swim and feel like they can go after big dreams, and to feel like nothing is too big if you've planned correctly, if you've organized it, and if you surround yourself with the right people. I don't know. I guess for myself, all these endurance athletes, just athletes that I've looked at over the years, you see an athlete do something and you're like, oh, I can do a little bit of that. Maybe I can't do the whole thing, but I can do a little bit. And so I hope that people can look at Swim California and take that into, I can start my own business, or I can go jump in the ocean for the first time, or I can sign up for that triathlon. You don't need to swim the coast of California to do something. You like do your own version of Swim California, do your own version of rowing the Pacific, your own version of winning Cocodona. And that's what I would love for people to take away from it.
I think it's so cool because I was talking, when we had Kelsey on the podcast, we were talking about that same idea of like, I think that in order to, she put it beautifully. She basically said, in order to experience like the biggest, fullest life, it doesn't actually mean that you have to go out and achieve the biggest, grandest thing. It means you have to put yourself in a position to experience every range of human emotion. That means being scared. That means being excited. That means being sad. That means all of these things. And I think that reframing is maybe something that helps non-endurance athletes understand what the purpose is behind this. Because when you put it in the phrase of like, go out and just sign up for the triathlon, or open the business, or chase the dream, or do the thing differently, then it's like, oh yeah, the reason I'm not doing that is because I feel afraid, or like I feel embarrassed, or like I'm scared it won't work out. And then we see you guys going out and doing these crazy, big, huge, hard things, and you're like, I'm sure they had doubts of like whether Kelsey told me, she was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. But the fact that you do it anyway is the point. And that is like a universal call to action for whatever the dream is.
100%. So one of our crew members, Heather, she actually was so inspired by the swim that during the swim, she signed up for her first Ironman. And she jokes that I'm going to be her coach. And yesterday I was like, Heather, you need to go for a swim. Like, we've got time and we're in a bay. You need to go for a swim. And she's like, fine, you have to come with me. So I was driving the Zodiac next to her. And she gets to the beach where she's going to start her swim. And she's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't really want to. I love swimming, but I don't want to do it right now. And I'm really scared. How do you do this every day? What do I need to tell myself mentally? And it was almost like she wanted this answer of, well, here's the mental trick. The answer is, AJ, I do things scared and unmotivated every single day. every day I get in the California coast, I am a little bit scared, and a part of me would rather go to take a nap. But because I committed to doing this, when you commit to doing something, you do it scared, and you have to have that commitment. I don't think, and I guess that's actually probably the biggest thing that I would love for people to take away from this. I'm not every single day having fun and loving this, and like there's dolphins jumping around me. There are days where I am terrified, but I do it anyways. And that is an okay thing. Being scared doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
That is such a good reminder. I think back to, so I was a whitewater rafting guide professionally, and I actually got a chance to guide the Grand Canyon last year. And it was the scariest thing physically that I had done in probably 10 years. Like I'd been a competitive gymnast, I'm a surfer, so like there's little moments of fear, right? Where it's like, oh gosh, this wave's too big, how do I get out of this? Or like, whatever, insert, like you try mountain biking or whatever. But this was the longest sustained fear that I had maybe ever. Maybe since I'd been a professional guide, when like the water got really high and I was responsible for 16 lives a day. But there was something about showing up and like being accountable and realizing you don't have another option, right? Like you've said you're going to swim the California coast. So like there's an accountability in saying the dream out loud and choosing the hard thing. And now I'm sitting there like almost on the year anniversary of going down the Grand and being like, yeah, that was for sure type 2 fun. Like I woke up, my partner can attest, I woke up most mornings going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to get in the boat. I'm terrified of this next rapid. I don't know if I'm capable of it. And then getting in my boat and doing it anyway, because it was like, you have to do it. And I don't know that I've ever been prouder of myself than in those moments. And so the fear is required for the pride. The fear is required for the like, I can do this feeling that I think so many of us want to chase, That
feeling you had waking up and like doing it again, that's something I really, really struggled with the first month of this swim, is waking up and not knowing what the currents were doing, or the wind or the waves, or am I going to see wildlife today? And I started getting this like intense anxiety, something I've never had before. And so I would wake up and I'd be like, I'm going to fail. Today's the day Swim California is going to fail. And I would wake up in tears. And so like 2 or 3 weeks like that of like, I can't do this. It's going to fail. And then I just had this reframe in my head of like, what am I certain about and what am I uncertain about? I'm uncertain how far I'll go. I'm uncertain what the water's doing, but I'm certain that I can put my wetsuit on, and I'm certain I can put my face in the water, and I'm certain I can try. And every single day I tried, I accomplished the goal. And so now like this morning we needed to do 10 miles, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do it in one go, but I do know I can do 10 miles today, and we'll just see how it goes. Maybe it's 3 swims today, maybe it's 2 swims, and we did it in 1 and it was perfect. So it takes time, but you have to have those experiences, I think, to show yourself that you're capable of doing things scared.
And I think that's the thing, right? Is like building up that catalog, because there's no way we can control whether or not there's scary things that happen to us in this life, but we can build up a reservoir of proving to ourselves that we can handle them when they happen. And that is like the beautiful thing about watching all of you and watching you do something that nobody has ever been done before, is that you are showing us that showing up scared is the point. And then you break it down into like, how many millions of times in your life have you put on a freaking wetsuit? A lot of them. So if you break it down into that, cool. So like take the big thing, break it down. So that it's incredible. I cannot wait to continue watching you for the next few months as you do this journey. The last question I have for you is, this is the Powerful Podcast. We are all about highlighting powerful, badass women like yourself. What does the word powerful mean to you?
Powerful to me means believing in all that you're capable of and can do without doubting yourself.
I love that. That's perfect. Awesome. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. Cannot wait to watch you. If you guys I'll put all in the show notes how you can follow Catherine's journey on social. She's got a great live map on the website, swimcalifornia.com. So stay locked in, y'all. We are in for another long haul. So stay with her as she goes 10 miles a day. Cannot wait. Hopefully link up with you in Southern California, girl. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. We've got more episodes dropping all the time. So make sure you subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts.